Moving on, while the pandemic has obviously been one of the county's top priorities throughout much of the year, the regular business of government has still continued, and we in fact had a very active December meeting. Of course, one item that's generated quite a bit of interest was a revamping of the Green Building Incentive Program, which means the county's raising the bar on what steps developers will need to take to achieve energy efficiency and sustainability in return for increased density on site plan projects. And Libby, we'll start with you. How does this incentive program work, and what are we talking about with some of these changes?
So it's been in place since we started it in 1999. We were the first ones to kind of start it. And because we're in Virginia, we can't tell developers, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this for, energy efficiency and things. So we try to add in return for taking some actions that help preserve the planet and are more energy efficient, then developers can get more density, more height. They can get other things that in exchange for that. So we try to make it, we try to have a carrot, if you will. There's kind of a carrot approach more than a stick, because we're not allowed to use the sticks, if you will. Happily, I think most of the developers actually are on the same wavelength as we are, more and more interested in doing the biophilic design. That's sort of a new thing that's come in. Adding, bird safe glass is one of the things starting to make sure that buildings have that. And also have a LEED Gold is going to be a standard now. So we're doing a lot of things to kind of help preserve the environment, and then we provide, again, not a stick, we can't do that, but we provide an encouragement and a carrot. In the end, we had our environmental groups upset that we weren't doing enough. They wanted us to do, higher standards, more strict, faster. One of the things was, should the buildings all be prepared to go totally electric? How many electric charging stations for cars coming online? So the environmental community, and this is their job in a way, pushing us to do more. On the other side, you had the development community concerned that we were pushing too far and too fast. So, as I've often said, I've decided we kind of came down in exactly the right place. Neither side was totally happy, and that usually indicates to me that we've kind of gotten it right. But as we're going to get through this pandemic, and I will not be surprised if in the future more and more of these kind of wrap-ups, the pandemic will be in the rearview mirror, but what we're going to be concerned about is climate change. Like that horrible storm we had a few years ago, and everything points to more and more really threatening storms that are going to just deluge us, that we're going to have to cope with. And some of the way to fight that is to work on energy efficiency and improving the environmental stability of our buildings.
Is there any concern that the raising the bar here is will discourage developers from pursuing site plans and, lead them more for the by right developments? Is there any concern on that? Is that anything you've heard?
Yes, that's what we heard from the development community. Go ahead, Christian.
Well, that's the balance that staff needed to expertly strike, was how do you create an incentive program that will entice developers to participate, because that's exactly what we want to have happen. We want them to actually pursue this path, and staff had to go through and construct it in just the right way to ensure that it wasn't going to drive people towards a more by right path of development that doesn't provide any of these benefits. And I think staff struck the right balance. It's not just a matter of making sure you give a little and you compromise, but you actually look at hard numbers to figure out what's it going to cost a developer to comply, and whether the value of the density that they would be awarded is sufficient enough to have them take on those costs. And staff did that work very methodically and expertly, in my opinion. And one of the things that I think is most noteworthy about this is that the market for sustainability has moved. Many of the things that 20 years ago, when this program was first initiated, these are now common practices that no one would never think of not doing. So what this policy does is take into account the degree in which energy efficiency and sustainability has become kind of a market baseline, and said, hey, those baselines are expected. We're going to require more if you are going to get density. And the more that we require produces so many benefits for our community. It helps us advance toward our community energy plan. As we discussed that ambitious plan last year, one of the things that you'll note is most of our greenhouse gas emissions come from buildings. And so we're looking at new buildings, things that are going to be here for 50, 60 years, not only not contributing to enhanced greenhouse gas emissions, but leading us towards that carbon-free future.
You know, one of the issues that we did, and one of the few changes the board made to the staff recommendation, which really so much excellent work went into it, was the review period. Staff recommended a 5-year review to give time to get some buildings built and to get some feedback. And the environmental community and in the end, the board too decided that a 3-year review would be better, in part because this field is changing so quickly. And there may be some things we can change without getting, feedback from actual buildings that have been built and getting information from that. So we're going to be looking at it again. And I think as this field continues to change rapidly, I think that's actually a good thing. So again, when you started out with your question about, are developers going to just not do it and build by right? This is one of the, maybe we'll need to make some adjustments. We'll find out. We're gonna find out in the next few years.
Okay, well, on that note, we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we'll take a look at some proposed parking changes as well as improvements for stormwater infrastructure. Stay with us.